welcome to the annual St. Vincent's Benefit Concert.
The St. Vincent Student Clinic is a free clinic for the population of Galveston County and some of the surrounding counties. Has been in existence for 34 years now as a student-run clinic. And we reach out to those who are on the margins, underserved, do not have resources for adequate health care.
So St. Vincent's Clinic, I think, is a student-run clinic that aims to serve the uninsured and underinsured patients in Galveston County and the surrounding areas. So do as much as we can to provide medical services within the scope of the clinic here in this space, but also refer to additional services outside of this building.
Well, the annual benefit for the Grand is obviously one of our major fundraising opportunities each year. But the thing that always impresses me each year is that I get to see another side of students, other faculty volunteers that I don't get to see every day. And I'm amazed at these talented individuals who can do so many things.
And they have made the past 4 years amazing. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with them. And I think they've all done great things for patients in Galveston and the surrounding areas. And I think that is probably all we've got.
Poetry or a book or a piece of music starts with some exploratory themes or phrases, and you're not exactly sure where they're going to go. But then as you go along, they begin to interact and interweave and build into something that you might not have expected when you started out. And for me, that's what the medical encounter is very much like. And for me, that is where my humanity comes into the medical encounter most, is when I sit down and take a breath and look a patient in the eye and just ask them what's going on. And sometimes they'll start with, the central concern, and sometimes they'll start, over here with a theme that seems, it's not clear to me how it's going to play into what we will ultimately talk about. But that reminds me of the beginning of one of the Goldberg variations, a piece of music I like to play that's very noodly at the beginning. But then, an hour later, it's been built into this edifice that makes complete sense. Being a musician and being a physician are both, key parts of who I am. But I think that, the old quotation, "I am human, nothing human is alien to me."
What made you want to become a doctor?
I think it was twofold. One, I was absolutely fascinated with how the body worked, and trying to understand it was something I found intriguing. But I also wanted some profession where I felt like I was contributing to society at large.
So I didn't think about becoming a doctor at all until I was already out of college. I would think I started medical school when I was 26. I did my medical training in Alabama, and then did my specialized cancer surgery training in New York. And then my first job after my training was here in Galveston. I came here in 2006, fresh out of training, and I've been here for 12 years.
Well, I've always looked up to St. Vincent's. I knew the previous director, Mr. Jackson, and when my daughter was young and enrolled in Trinity School, then they would always do projects around the holidays about the pantry, for instance. And my daughter would come home and say, "Mom, we need to get cans for the people at St. Vincent's." And at that time, I worked for another company, and I retired. I was able to retire from there with 30 years of service. And so I would have never thought that when my daughter was little and going to Trinity that one day I would be at St. Vincent's. Really nice to know, and this job means more than any 30 years with another company. The people give me back so much. Students are so unbelievable, giving of their time and their understanding, and they inspire me to do better. Every time I have an interaction with somebody, I'm like, oh my God, these are our young people, and guess what? They are going to change this world.
So I think it's the sense of purpose and camaraderie that they get by being able to work with their peers and their sort of students who are just a year or two older than them, and work with faculty, volunteers who are sort of outside the university environment. I think that it gives them a chance to really feel like they're doing what they came to medical school to do, is to become a caregiver and a healer.
I think that this space allows students to explore what it means not only to be a doctor, but what it means to be a caring doctor. I think the physicians that we have that volunteer with us display really admirable qualities that allow students to have some mentorship in understanding what does it mean to care for your patients well, especially when resources are limited. So I think the best thing students get out of it is really learning what does it mean to be a good, loving, caring physician.
Most of the people that are uninsured or underinsured are not any different than the rest of us. I do not see lazy individuals who are largely doing things different than the rest of us. Most of them are working 1, 2, some of them even 3 jobs trying to make ends meet. They just don't make enough and they don't have health coverage, so they're in between the cracks. And those are the people that are trying to do their best and yet they can't get by in the current system.
Superheroes always have heartbreaking backstories. The very idea of family is foreign to me. Farther away than shores whose oceans don't even touch my shore. Much farther away than ideas in books or the comical concept of being a surly, drunken anti-hero with bumbling luck, filthy humor, and willful, wild, furry companions. With friendships that consist of momentum and escapism and rebellion and making brand new worlds even though you are just a girl at the end of the world. Family. More unlikely to be here than a heroine in an opioid epidemic. And she has a super rare, non-histamine-mediated, inherent paradoxical response to all opiates, opiate synthetics, codeines, and codeine synthetics, even the ones her body produces. Family. A thing much further from me, always, than my own sensitive, overreacting, give it an ounce and it will respond like you have 10 tons shoved it across a bell curve, leaping mountains, creating mountains, skin. With all of its pedal metal and capable. She gets it from her mama, who is years gone. These impossibilities, all more likely than family, kept far from me by parents who cared to raise me only to care for them and their dreams and their needs. And though I made the most of it, unquestioning and trusting and grateful for the opportunity, I am to be discarded, not regarded, because I am a high-functioning, finally malfunctioning daughter of a dysfunctional family. And there is nothing to forgive when you already gave and were taught it was wrong to ever ask or need for yourself, especially your health. And there is no help. There is no responsibility, just lopsided reciprocity and the lonely, stubborn, unflappable hero forever trying to save herself by risking it all to drag another body in from the storms and depths she keeps seeking, because drowning feels like home.
Our goal is to make sure everyone we interact with feels like they are respected, dignified. I even occasionally use the word that every individual is cherished.
There is not a safety net anymore. The idea that if you are sick, you can go to the emergency room and you will be cared for is no longer true in the way that people believe it to be true. Our emergency rooms are terrific, but they provide only emergency level care. And for most people, that means that they will stabilize a life or a limb-threatening condition and discharge you. But that is life-threatening only in the most immediate sense. So if you have a life-threatening chronic or acute illness like heart failure or cancer, that is not something that will be treated through the emergency room. And without safety net hospitals or more effective, more inclusive insurance coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. Those conditions will go untreated, and those people will die of what we would think of as treatable and often curable illnesses.
I was in shock when I came to work here. I had no idea, and I lived here my whole life. So it can happen to anyone, and it does not discriminate. So, please be understanding. We're all the same. We want the same things. We want our children to have good lives. We're all the same.
We keep things very financially prudent. We run the clinic almost entirely by volunteer effort. We can always use some financial support, but it's not a large-scale operation in that regard. There are things that can be done that are not directly medically oriented, organizing materials, sorting them and categorizing them, filling out certain forms that need to be done occasionally that don't impact the patient's personal history, but other things that need to be done. But the major thing is just knowing that we exist and supporting us a little bit financially, but just more in spirit.
They can help by donating money, by donating supplies. If they want to donate food to the pantry, they can do that. We do snack packs as well at St. Vincent's, so they could donate. We have lists that we can email you that show you what we put in the snack pack, and those are for our travelers, people that don't have a home. They come Monday through Friday to get snack packs. So yeah, they could give that way too. Or they could come and see St. Vincent's for themselves and get the good feeling for themselves by donating their, a couple of hours a week.
The other thing in supporting the clinic, because the clinic is part of a larger institution called St. Vincent's House. St. Vincent's House is the social services organization that sponsors the clinic and houses the clinic. And they have many more needs for donations, volunteer help, and things that can be done to impact the community.